how's everything going on and off the track with you?
Yeah, things are going great. This is our second year with Freedom Racing Enterprises, and we're right at that, coming up on the halfway point of the 2025 season, and having the best season yet. So I'm really thrilled with our team and enjoying the growth personally as well.
Your thoughts on your team's performance so far?
Yeah, being a smaller team in the Truck Series definitely has its challenges for sure. And last year being our first year full-time, being a driver, owner, there were a lot of things that, I definitely wasn't expecting and wasn't necessarily prepared for, but I had some really good people around me and I was able to learn pretty quick. And now in our second year, things are more fluid and more seamless. And I'm proud of what we're accomplishing. We're currently the highest independent team in points, which is awesome. And then myself as a driver, I've been doing this a while, and to be going to racetracks, getting my best finishes, definitely feels rewarding being the driver owner.
The transition from driver to full-time team owner, what was that like?
Yeah, it's definitely different. This is my 11th year in NASCAR, second year being the driver owner, and I think the biggest difference is the work I do Monday through Thursday. Really handling a lot of the business side. I've always done my own marketing and had a team that helped me, but I really would do the reaching out and finding partners, and that's really been like my MO and my brand and what I do. Now that's still a huge part of what I do, but obviously working with the guys at the shop and paying attention to what's on the horizon and looking more 3-6 months down the road, where before it was really just week to week. Where am I racing next? What am I doing? Who is the partner on board? So I'm really excited about what we have going on. I've really enjoyed the growth, and I feel like our partnerships, being a driver owner and our sponsors, it's definitely more latched in, and we have some really good partners on board, and we're doing a lot more behind the scenes versus just that forward facing sponsorship style.
Which track do you prefer, oval or roval?
My favorite track, probably super speedways. I won Talladega in 2019, which was a big day for us, but I do enjoy Richmond, Martinsville, and Nashville. The last couple of years has moved up on the list. I really look forward to this track and just the energy around this town. Some tracks we go to, they may not be your favorite racetrack, but they're your favorite town to go to. And we have a really solid fan base here in Tennessee. So it's fun to see so many Spencer Boyd shirts and pass people out on the boulevard down there on Music Row. So it's a fun time. But I am a short track guy at heart. I grew up racing short tracks, late models. So anytime we can get to, Wilkesboro, Martinsville, Bristol, those feel a little bit more like home.
Short track fans and Denny Hamlin connection.
There's some big names in the sport that have come from short track racing, like Denny Hamlin, and even at this level, in the Cup Series and NASCAR, and he's one of the best. So it's really cool to see how even 15, 20 years ago, these guys were really good late model racers, and they still have those tendencies to be good on short tracks. And I think it's the same for me. Martinsville has been religiously a really good track for us, no matter what team or vehicle I was driving. And I don't know what it is. You just show up to the racetrack and there's like this overwhelming calmness. And then a guy like me goes to Michigan and we're doing 198 mile an hour. And I'm like, I feel like I've been doing that for a few years when I've been doing it for 11, but you still have that like amped up energy where you go to a short track, you just feel like you're in control all the time.
Coca-Cola 600 and Truck Series thoughts?
Yeah, being such a long-time truck driver, I do always put the Truck Series race at the top. I love it. I thought the Charlotte race was really calm. The truck race, we had our 2 stage cautions and 1 other caution, and it's so hit or miss. We have a lot of young drivers in the Truck Series, and some days we get a bad rap for tearing up a lot of stuff all the time, and then other days it's like, could somebody just bring out a caution? That would help us so much. And that was one of those races at Charlotte where it was cooler temperatures, gripped up. You can move around a lot at Charlotte. You can race hard. It's somewhat forgiving. So there weren't a lot of cautions, but all in all, It was a great race. We had solid speed, and Truck Series, we don't do a lot of green flag pit stops. So the guys in Xfinity and Cup have a lot more experience with that. So typically you're going to see issues come about on green flag pit stops, and everyone did their job, including myself, and it was a clean race. But the Coke 600 weekend is something so special, something that I truly like. I spend months getting ready for. I'm so excited for the event and the patriotism, and it's close to home, and we typically do a lot of cool marketing things around it. So it was fun. We had Canal Coffee Company out there. We had their truck selling coffee across the street from the racetrack. So I was out there all weekend, and I watched a lot of laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Which track would you say is the scariest one in NASCAR?
Ooh, that's a question that I really haven't gotten. I would say, like, for sense of speed and just like, man, this is sketchy, it's probably Dover and Pocono. Those tracks, to me, you always like get there and you feel like, okay, I'm going really fast. For Dover, it's high bank, mile long, short track feel, but you're going really fast. So things happen quick. It's really hard to avoid wrecks. The straightaways are banked a lot compared to other places. And then Pocono is just flat out big. It feels way bigger than Daytona and Talladega. I look at Daytona and Talladega, and after a few laps, everything slows down, and you kind of feel like you're on the highway until all heck breaks loose and there's a wreck. Then you realize you're going fast. But Pocono and Dover would be the places that I think I go, all right, this is why we're professionals. This is a sketchy track for sure.
Scariest tracks, Dover and Pocono.
Pocono is an old surface, really historic, fun track. Not a lot of cautions, but when there is one, you kind of wake up and you're like, okay, that was big. Fun place to race for sure. Unfortunately, Dover isn't on the truck schedule. So I think at the beginning of every year, I see like the schedule and I'm like, man, Dover hasn't been on in a couple years. That's a bummer. And then about halfway through the year, I'm like, okay, we're not going to Dover. So that's cool.
Earnhardt documentary and personal memories.
I've watched part 1 and part 2. I realized last night part 3 was on. So I haven't seen that yet. But parts 1 and 2, my gosh, I mean, I was the kid that was, 7, 8 years old with the Dale Jr. Budweiser copy, fire suit racing go-karts. And I just looked up to him. I thought it was awesome what he was doing in the sport at that time. Dale Jr. was running really well and contending for that 2004 championship. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. I was devastated as a young kid watching that. And my dad was a huge Dale Sr. fan. I was leaving my first ever go-kart race when Senior passed away in the 500. So it just is kind of weird how, you remember where you were when certain things happened in the world. And for my family, we all knew, we can all talk about it to this day, where we were, what exit we were at when we heard Dale Sr. pass. So really cool behind the scenes. I feel like I've watched every Dale Sr. movie, TV show, documentary, and this really peels the onion back.
Meeting Dale Sr. and racing with legends.
I had never met Dale Sr. I was 5 years old when he passed. I did meet Dale Jr. 2 weeks after Dale Sr. passed. So that was the first time I met Dale Jr. And my parents, had a bunch of die-cast for us to go get signed in St. Louis, Missouri, or just outside at a dirt track that Kenny Schrader owned. And I walked up and, I don't really remember it specifically outside of seeing the pictures and reminding me. And my parents are always like, yeah, you walked up and were like, sorry about your dad, bro. I'm like, man, I can't imagine me saying that. And I can't imagine what he probably thought when this little kid says that. And I was probably one of a million. But it's pretty crazy. And I've got to race on the same racetrack as Dale Jr. and Xfinity. And that was a big moment for me and my parents. We thought that was so cool growing up watching those guys on TV. And I got to run a cup car on the same track as Jimmie Johnson. which was a unique experience. But all in all, really cool to get to race with those guys.
Story of Jimmie Johnson and Richmond incident.
Yeah, I was running the Cup race at Richmond, and I wasn't driving for a big team. And Richmond's always been, I've been pretty vocal about it being like my favorite racetrack. I haven't had a good run there the last couple times, so I've kind of like steered clear of saying it's my favorite. But it really is. I love that racetrack, and the opportunity came to run a Cup car there. And I was like, I got to do it. It's a small team. It's a lot of laps, but I'm definitely going to go take this opportunity. And I was racing, was a few laps down. Jimmie wasn't having a great day either. And the tires fall off major at Richmond. So I am catching Jimmie Johnson, and I don't know where we were on tire runs or what happened, but I'm catching him, so I'm freaking out. I'm so excited. This is 7th time. This is so cool. So I go to his outside, and I'm like running on his outside. And after about 5 laps of doing that, he had finally had enough and kind of squeezed me and took off. And as we go down the front stretch, he's got the middle finger out the window. And I'm like, this is so awesome. Like, I want to get back to his outside and have him give me the finger again, because you just like, hey, he knew who I was in that moment. And that felt really cool, because I think every race car driver in this garage, from Cup to truck, doesn't matter. You're going to look up to Jimmie Johnson and what he accomplished.
Who do you think will win this year's manufacturer championship?
Oh, I really think it will be Chevy. I think they're looking good. You never know. I mean, when the season finales in Phoenix, those Penske cars are always up front. And Joey always has a way of just being there at the end, which is crazy. And then Blaney sneaks his way through, and he's hot when it's the right time. So you never know, but I do feel good about the Chevrolets this year across the board. I mean, truck, Xfinity, and Cup, I feel like this could be one of those years where Chevy pulls it off in all 3.
Who do you think will take the trophy?
I really think it's going to be Larson again. He's just incredible, so fast. And, I feel like he's been running well even when they're, 5th to 10th in practice. And then come race time, they're finishing in the top 3. And I saw a good comparison of him and William Byron at the end of last year. And, Larson's put on this high pedestal just because what he can do across all forms of motorsports. And then you look at Byron, and they're very similar statistically. They have very similar win ratios and top 5 ratios. But when it comes to the finishes in the top 10 and top 15, Byron has a lot more, right? So you look at Larson and you kind of say, okay, he's either going to win, finish in the top 5, or not finish. And I think this year he's kind of correcting that. And if he's going to have a 7th or 8th place day, he's going to take it instead of trying to finish 4th and knock the wall down. So I think that's like maturity, and it feels weird. He's older than me, so saying stuff like that. But when you watch his career, it's like, okay, he is compounding more points on a regular basis and still getting wins. And I think that's what's going to get him that 2nd championship. I think Bell got a little robbed last year of that opportunity, and I think he's fueled that fire with it. And he's a force to be reckoned with. And weird that, they made a spotter change last week so abruptly. It's you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So it is what it is, but he still had a solid day, and he's definitely going to be a contender. And he came out of the box really strong at the beginning of this year.
Which is the most memorable race for you?
So I'm coming up on 200 starts, which seems so unreal for a guy that was selling cars at Hendrick Automotive Group 10 years ago. But Talladega was probably the win in 2019 was the most life-changing and most fulfilling moment of my life. And then just there's a lot of races that have been exciting. The Cup debut at Michigan didn't go great, but just walking down pit road was the coolest feeling ever. I really didn't think anything could top winning a truck race, but the Cup start was really cool, and there's so much hype around it. And then my first truck race at Martinsville, I literally still have dreams about that day. We wrecked running fifth. I made a lot of mistakes. We had a really fast truck. Michael Waltrip talked about us on TV. Spencer hit Spencer. I wrecked with Spencer Gallagher. And that was like that moment of when I made my truck debut and we were having such a solid day. I think something clicked in my mind, and I'm like, okay, I'm not just a local race car driver that sells cars. Like, I think I can make a career out of this. So those are probably my top three, monumental moments in my personal racing career.
Friendship with Michael Waltrip and off-track moments.
Yeah, we are. So, I think coming from selling cars, I've always been someone that's willing to go up to anybody and try and start a conversation. And sometimes that goes well in the NASCAR garage, and sometimes you get shot down. And Michael was a guy that was just open arms, early on in my career, and willing to have conversations and give me advice. And we struck up a friendship, and it's still really, really close and growing today. And I eat at his restaurant and I drink his beer, and I post about it on social media, and we've done some fun stuff over the years. And I was at his signature floor bar down here in Nashville last night, and it's really cool. So I look at Michael's career, and I think it's a very unique, special one. Somebody who, I think he ran 427 races before he won a race. I think he did it the hard way. I think a lot of people think because of his last name, he had a lot of things handed to him. And what I've seen and learned over the years is he worked extremely hard, got really creative, built a brand way before social media, and he's reaping the reward now. And it's definitely somebody I look up to.